Dark, digital, and with death at every turn, the first Death End Request captivated me with its fascinating story and unique mechanics, so when its darker sequel Death End Request 2 was announced, it was something I absolutely had to try. I was lucky enough to get a code to try it now, so as I turn all the lights off in my house to get fully immersed into this world full of hacking and death, I'm pleased to say its story captivated me again, thanks to its well-written plot twist that had me racing forward to see what would happen next, and its story choices that felt like they had weight thanks to sometimes having lasting effects. Mix that with a smoother version of its combat system that will have you transforming and making enemies fly, and Death End Request 2's dark world full of mysteries to solve makes its sequel another interesting addition that uses the previous game's formula in its own way to tell an equally compelling story. Death End Request 2's story introduces new protagonist Mai Toyama with a bang as we find out about her troubled origins and how she became an orphan. This leads her to be admitted into an all-girls orphanage called Wordsworth, set in the middle of nowhere town of Les Shirara. She heard her sister Sanaya was supposed to be in the school too, however upon arrival it seems Sanaya is nowhere to be found, and as mysterious happenings begin occurring every night, Mai's goal of finding her sister becomes complicated by the strange happenings of Les Shirara that range from weird religions to dark shadows that roam the town. This begins the dark and strange journey in Wordsworth, where Mai and friends will meet death and strange occurrences more than a few times, and with a whole dormitory of girls who find themselves intertwined with the story, there's a lot of mysteries to uncover in this strange faraway town. Like the first one, Death End Request 2's game flow ends up being part visual novel and part RPG. In the daytime, you'll see the story get set up, have the option of doing sub-story events at midday to get to know the girls of the school more, and then at midnight, Les Shirara becomes explorable as you find the root of the mysteries that appear during the day and encounter moments that can impact the story. With so much happening, choices quickly felt like they had weight, as certain mistakes and choices can quite literally get people or even Mai killed, so it always felt interesting to get immersed in a story and carefully weigh up what had just happened to try and work out how to avoid death and continue with the best outcome. The story's flow supports this quite a lot too. As you get to know characters in the daytime, many of their quirky personalities are all rooted in some kind of hardship that made me want to keep everyone alive somehow, and things like sub-stories only raise that feeling. So I really think the writing did a good job here of making both the large side quests and the lovable main trio feel worth protecting, and spending time with them made all the strange occurrences hitting the town hit harder every time. One more thing I really noticed about this story was how much darker it felt than its predecessor. Visually, it's easy to notice just looking at the openings of both games, but it's definitely felt in the story too. Since this sequel is set in a creepy town and not in the MMO setting of the Lost one, the fantasy feeling of the Lost is replaced with a more sinister feeling, especially since most things play out past midnight. I actually like how this makes the first and second game feel different though, with the gameplay returning costs and story pods making these games feel connected, but Death End Request 2's new cost and area mean there's more new things to see in this world. With that in mind, this new story felt like both one of its own and one connected to the Lost that should make it fairly accessible to newcomers if this is your first Death End Request experience, although of course having that knowledge from the first game did make it exciting when characters like Sheena showed up. But if you just want to see the story play out, I think you'd be fine playing through this one, and since it's one hell of a mystery to see, hopefully this fact means that more people will see this interesting story. In line with the dark feeling of everything, you'll explore the area of Les Shirara at night to progress the story, and to do that, you must battle and use skills to be able to move forward in the town. There are a few differences in exploration when compared to the Lost one. As you explore and take on monsters and use abilities such as hacking to get around, you'll also have to watch out for shadow matter that randomly appear to chase you, that comes with some tense music and a lot of running that usually makes you end up in corners of the map that you may not have been planning to go to. This can result in some backtracking, but it's also an unpredictable moment that does spice things up a little, so this along with the new character abilities was something that wasn't in the Lost one that I ended up enjoying a bit. One thing that felt immediately familiar though was the battle system, although there are some small changes that make the system feel more streamlined compared to the Lost game, but in a good way. Bugs still appear on the field that can raise your corruption level, but rarely have any negative consequences, meaning your characters transform into the stronger glitch modes much more often than Lost time, with it being more of a simple decision of to glitch or not to glitch rather than the feeling of dodging mini landmines like Lost game. This tends to make battles more colorful as you're transforming a lot and the the glitch forms really stand out in the midnight environment. So despite the fact I felt like I was using the feature almost excessively at points, it does add a nice variety to battle, especially when using special attacks. Like the Lost game, you still input commands in threes in the Triac turn-based battle system, and enemies will go flying if you use a knockback attack, with the addition of a super knockback that is fun to look at as enemies fly all over the place. The previous Death End game did have more variety thanks to its additional mechanics, but it also had a lot that weren't very refined. So the fact that this system focuses on the knockbacks, bugs, glitching, and turn-based system made it more fun to use as everything works together a lot more smoothly. I enjoyed the fact that I actually felt like I could get good at using the system rather than trying to do too much, and with a decent amount of challenge in the latter chapters of the game, I definitely got the feeling that this was the most cohesive gameplay we've seen from Death End Request yet. Like I felt last time, this gives me hope that we'll continue to see it in more games, especially if they continue this series, as I think it really hit its stride here, and the fact it was so enjoyable makes me want to see it in more of these dark stories. Death End Request 2 takes a lot of the good points from the first one and streamlines them in a way that makes it feel like a smoother experience. I had an enjoyable time playing overall that became more polished after I installed the Day 1 patch, with the only minor gripe that remained being that Roddy's voice seems to be louder than other characters, and I couldn't work out if this was intentional or not. I found this less noticeable if you wear headphones though, and I did get used to it over time, and above all, I appreciate the inclusion of an English dub, especially with many returning voices like Sheena's, so this is a small thing I can get past considering how much I enjoyed the dub overall. A final thing that impressed me was the episode chart that pretty much confirmed I would replay the game as soon as I saw it. Like the last one, you can easily see which events you've missed, which led me to starting a New Game Plus playthrough as soon as I finished my 20-hour one of the main story, and I was pleasantly surprised to see a few benefits to playing again that involve story content and some other gameplay elements that I don't want to spoil, but I'd highly recommend giving New Game Plus a look at the end, especially if you're into the story. With that in mind, while I'm technically done and got the true ending, I'm still playing Death End Request 2 to see anything that I've missed, and I'm appreciating features like its skip red text function that let me get to new content quickly and keep me engaged as I do so. So I look forward to playing more of it, as this dark story is one I want to see every bit of. Death End Request had a lot of things that made it unique, and it's good to see its sequel keeping what worked from the first one and refining it to make this new story even better. The gameplay full of flying enemies and glitching girls is still enjoyable in this new world of dark story, and the way choices felt like they counted both when avoiding death ends and in trying to keep everyone alive made it a meaningful experience that made me want to make the right choices. My 20 hours in it flew by as it kept surprising me, and with the way it took the best parts of the Lost game into this new real-world setting while keeping its themes of mystery and hacking, has me hoping we see more from this series, as I'm sure they could combine all these interesting elements with another original narrative too. But for now, fans of dark JRPGs and visual novels shouldn't hesitate to give Death End Request 2 a try, especially if you enjoyed the first one. And since it's left me wanting more, I'm curious to see if you guys will enjoy it as much as I did, as I'm still looking forward to finding more secrets in the mysterious Lesharara soon. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below if you played the original Death End Request, if you plan on playing this sequel, and once it's out, feel free to let me know what you thought of it. And if you're planning on getting it, Death End Request 2 will be out for Steam on August 18th and will be out on August 25th if you plan on playing on PS4. You can like and share this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel for more JRPG content like this, and ring that bell to get notifications on whenever I post so you don't miss a thing. You can check out more videos here, and you can find me on social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at JRPG Jungle. Links to those will be in the description below, and until next time, thank you!